6, 2025 at 3:05 p.m. And we have a number of items here today. Starting off is our colleague, the gentleman from Redwood, Senator Dahms. And we do have quorum at this time. Welcome, and please introduce your name for the record, and that go to the testifier as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and I'm Senator Gary Dahms, and today I have Senate File Number 673. Senate File Number 673 deals with some money from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Program, and this is in regards to a band shell that is in Marshall, Minnesota that needs refurbishment or being rebuilt. And so we're asking funds out of that group. We're asking for $795,000. I do want to point out two flyers that should be in your packets. The first one deals with the Marshall band shell and kind of gives you some history of it. The second one just shows a little history of the sales tax that has been collected in Marshall for this program. And over the years, if you look back from 2013, of April of 2013 to October of 2024, there's been approximately $14 million that has been collected in the Marshall community for this legacy amendment. And of that, they've received $39,000 in funding back in 2000. I think it was 2012. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to our two testifiers who are here today. And Mr. Chair, if you would recognize them.
Yes, welcome, and please state your name for the record.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Bob Burns. I'm mayor of the city of Marshall. I'll also allow Preston to introduce himself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Preston Stensrud, Park and Recreation Superintendent for the city of Marshall.
So, Mr. Chair, if I would start with some additional comments, and again, thank you, Senator Dahms, for that introduction. As you see, we have the request for the issue that we have with our iconic band shell in the city of Marshall. This is a band shell that's been around for a long, long period of time, hosts a lot of activities, summer city band, as well as other arts and performances that from early spring until late fall. So it's been around for a long time. In 2004, there was some repair that was done, but unfortunately, it's got to the point where it is structurally unsound. So that leads us to the request for the replacement of this, repair or replacement of this band shell. We have a engineer's estimate of $1.1 million that will take to replace or repair this facility. Of that, the request to this committee is $795,000. We have a local commitment then for the remainder that will be raised locally, and we have a commitment for a significant portion of that already. This is included in the city's not only comprehensive plan but strategic plan, as well as objective for the community. It has broad support within the community as we've done public surveys. With that, I'll ask Preston if you want to, Preston Stensrud, if you want to add anything about the physical conditions, which leads us to this point, and then I would certainly be open to any questions that the committee may have.
Mr. Stannard.
Thank you. Yes, back in 2001, we had a structural report done on the facility to kind of get you familiar with the surroundings. Right behind the band shell is the Redwood River. It's Liberty Park, our oldest park, and in an area of very mature trees and popular visited central to our city and kind of right in the start as you enter downtown. But the condition, because of the wood arched beam structures underneath and sitting back by the river and moisture over the last 70 plus years, there's been settlement and deterioration to the point where the structure itself is starting to push off of the foundations, leading it to be a safety concern for the community. And we like the mayor said, in 2004, we did some cosmetic updates, but nothing structurally. And the structural engineer report did recommend full replacement versus trying to repair.
Okay, any question or comment from members? Well, thank you. Thank you, Senator Dave. Any last remark?
Well, thank you, Senator Herr and members, Mr. Chairman. Certainly do appreciate the opportunity to present the bill today, and I'm not sure what the next process will be here. I assume it's to be laid over for possible inclusion. And so Marshall is a community in southwest Minnesota, probably about 15,000 population, a very highly diversified community. They have a lot of manufacturing there, they have a college there, and they have a lot of different things that attract people. And this band shell has been around for many, many years. It's a very popular meeting place. It's been a place that's been used in the summertime pretty much weekly by different bands and different organizations. And so it really would be appreciated if we could get this money so that we could get this refurbished and keep that line of use going. So thank you, members, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Senator Dave, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming by, and also Mr. Suro for being here as well. Yeah, so
Thank you.
This bill will be laid over for possible inclusion. This Senate File 673.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next on the list is Senator Boldon, Senate File 627, and just want to make a little announcement that we had two members online, Senator Housechild and Senator Johnson Stewart. Okay, welcome, Senator Boldon, and do state your name for the record, and also welcome our, esteemed senator, former senator. As well, when you're a senator, always a senator. So as you go along, just go ahead and introduce yourself for the record. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Senator Liz Boldon. I'm grateful to be before you all this afternoon with Senate File 627. Thank you for hearing it. This bill is an appropriation for the arts and from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund to the Olmsted County Historical Society to continue the rehabilitation of a historic farmstead. The George Stoppel Farmstead sits on the Historical Society campus and has 3 buildings on the National Historic Register of Historic Places. I'll primarily defer to my testifier and the handout that is in your packets to provide you with further details about this historic site. But above all, the Olmsted County Historical Society and the Stoppel Farmstead serve an important role in preserving the cultural heritage of Southeast Minnesota by offering area students and visitors with opportunities to learn about immigration and agriculture in our region and in the early days of our world-renowned medical community. I want to thank you, Chair Herr and members, for already recognizing the historical significance of this site by awarding legacy funding previously to get restoration efforts started. With this bill, we respectfully request an additional $850,000 to complete these efforts and ensure accessibility to the site for all area residents, visitors, and medical tourists who may hope to visit. With that, I will defer to my testifier, Dr. Mark Warner, who is a board member of the Olmsted County Historical Society, and after that, perhaps Commissioner Sanjum has some comments, and we're happy to take questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Boldon, and also Senator Carlson for Nelson for her support of this. So I'm Mark Warner. I'm president of the board of the Historical Center of Olmsted County. I appreciate the summary by Senator Boldon. Basically, this farmstead has 3 sites, 3 structures that are on the National Historical Register places. And we've made great progress and have already completed and raised $1.1 million, thanks partly to the funding you provided earlier, to take care of one of the structures. We have two other structures that we're working on. We've just put $500,000 into supporting the bank barn that was one of the first bank barns in Olmsted County. And structurally, it was deteriorating and there was risk of its demise. So we've now stabilized that. And now we need to finalize the use of that barn and the historic Stoppel house. The reason they're historic is the smokehouse was one of the first structures in an active farm when immigrants entered Olmsted County in the 1850s. And it's the only smokehouse in the country that has hand-dug caves where the family actually lived in those caves during the first winter until they could actually build a home. We need to activate these from an educational standpoint and from not only visitors from the county, but also visitors that come from around the world to visit Olmsted County and Mayo Clinic and other things in Rochester. So we're very proud of what we have, but we've not been using it. And you'll see in the handout I provided, there's been reasons for that. For the last half century, the History Center has struggled to maintain Mayo Wood Mansion, which is the home of Charlie Mayo, one of the two Mayo brothers. In 2008, several of us noticed it was deteriorating terribly and was going to implode. And we're able to get Mayo Clinic to now put over $10 million into that structure, and it is spectacular. It is it's now owned by Mayo, but half the days of the year are for public use. We have over 20,000 people come through for viewing of that, and it's well done. But by doing that, we were able to quit draining money away from the History Center, and now we can take money and start reestablishing what we should have been doing for the last half century, and that is to maintain our buildings and open up many more activities and educational opportunities in the area.
Thank you. Senator Senjum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'll just sort of wrap up by saying that this is an exciting project. This is an iconic site. If you look at that picture, you're looking at it's a 1861 farmstead, probably one of the most iconic farmsteads in southern Minnesota. And it's terribly easy in a nonprofit world for these things to literally rot away and to be just go into extinction. But what's exciting to me about this project is certainly the project, but moreover, as I joined the History Center Board as an Olmsted County Commissioner, I found a board of directors that's purpose-driven, that's ambitious, that's aspirational, that wants to take this site to something that it's never been before from the standpoint of an attraction. And that is what's exciting to me about this. Obviously, we'd love to have the money to get a good start on this farmstead and get that in shape. Maybe come back to the bonding committee at some point with respect to the History Center itself. But we have great, I think, ambitions, aspirations relative to this site. And if you walk into that board meeting, you're going to see some of the leading edge people, I would say, in Rochester, Minnesota, have gotten excited about this location and want to make it something more than it's ever been before. And that is really what drives me to be terribly excited about this and ambitious with respect to this request, and certainly anything that this committee can do to help us would be terribly appreciated. And just know that if you do it, we're going to create a site, an attraction at the Olmsted County History Center that's going to be not only serves people of southern Minnesota, but frankly people from around the world that come to Mayo Clinic. We have literally over 3 million people every year looking for things to do, and this can be certainly one of those things on the attraction list. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to testify and for being here today.
Thank you, Senator Senjum. And I do see in the audience Senator Nelson, who's my seatmate in the Transportation Committee and also the Job Committee as well. So I want to see Senator Nelson, you want to make a remark, or is good enough? Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. It's great to join you. And, well, I'm just here to support the project. It truly is remarkable, the the historic nature of this farm, and I am hopeful that this committee will see the way to help propel this into the future so my grandkids can enjoy this, and we can really see this develop into what we really should do is take care of the history that we have. And so I'm highly supportive and appreciate you hearing the bill, and appreciate Senator Boldon carrying the bill this year as well. So I don't want to take much more of your time, but if you come down to Olmsted County, be sure and reach out to either Senator Boldon or me, and we'll make sure that you get to see the Stoppel farm. We'll give you an inside tour. So thanks so much.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from members? Also, if there anybody in the audience want to speak on the project, I missed the earlier bill already. If anybody in the audience want to speak on any bill, do raise your hand as well. So, thank you. Senator Boldon, any last comment?
I think others have said it well. I appreciate the committee considering this request.
Thank you very much. We will lay over Senate File 627 for possible inclusion. Next, third on our list of bills is Senator Lane, Senate File 822, Minnesota State Band Appropriation. Welcome, Senator Lane, and state your name for the records, and also that goes to your testifier as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for allowing me to be here to present Senate File number 822. And I think it's maybe important to notice that I have never picked up an instrument in my life, so obviously I'm the real great choice and author. So both gentlemen sitting next to me here probably have a lot more experience with the band than what I do. But And I think it's kind of funny. There's very few opportunities in the the Minnesota Senate where one can get up in front of you and read the entirety of his bill in just a couple of minutes. But $65,000 in the fiscal year 26 is appropriated from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund to the Commissioner Administration for a grant to the Minnesota State Band to provide public performances across Minnesota, and that is the entirety of the bill, Mr. Chair. So if I could turn it over to either gentleman, if you'd
Thank you, Senator Lane. I was tempted to have counsel read that, but I think you do a better job at it. So welcome to the two testifiers. Please state your name for the record.
Craig Allen.
Go ahead with your testimony, sir.
Okay. I am a percussionist with the Minnesota State Band. Our band was formed in 1898. All of our concerts are free. All of our members are volunteers. Now, for several years, the Minnesota State Band has been granted money from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. We have used this money to travel to many small towns in outstate Minnesota to bring music to the public. After all, we could hardly call ourselves the official band of the state of Minnesota if we only played in the Twin Cities. Here's a short list of places we've visited: Litchfield, Hutchinson, Chatfield, Iron, Moose Lake, Park Rapids, Wadena, and Red Lake Nation. Now, some groups might travel to a location and set up for a concert, and that would be the end of it. When we travel, we always look for opportunities to be a positive influence. So let me tell you about our last overnight trip in October to Montevideo and Wilmer. On October 4th, we arrived at Montevideo Middle School and met with the middle school director, Riley Frank. Our primary purpose was to work with the kids playing in one of the school bands. Our band divided into several groups. The brass players went with the brass, flutes, and so on. You got the picture. We each had a specialty, and we loved the idea of working with middle schoolers, helping them with their tone and technique, and there were 4 separate classes of students. Now, another percussionist, Julie, and myself were in charge of the drummers. Can you believe that at one point they asked us to be a little quieter? My job was to teach the kids how to do a proper drum roll on the timpani. Afterwards, Julie showed them how to do a proper roll on the snare drum. The type of small group of instruction was a perfect way to work with the kids by demonstrating and then by allowing them to show what they've learned. But of course, our larger goal was to get them excited about band, playing an instrument. We wanted to motivate these young kids so that they would continue playing through high school and college, and maybe even become members of our band. After a great meal at the school cafeteria, we went and performed a concert at the school. Then, after our visit to the Montevideo Middle School, we had no time to waste. Next stop was the Veterans Home in Montevideo. Although there was one small problem, we couldn't get inside the building because of an outbreak of COVID. Do you think that stopped us? Absolutely not. We just played an outdoor concert with the veterans in chairs on the loading dock. There was another challenge that day, wind. Now, the band is used to little wind at an outdoor concert, but these gusts were enough to knock music stands over. I think I was using about 20 clothespins to hold down the music so it wouldn't fly off. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But despite the difficult circumstances, the veterans were a great audience and appreciated everything we did to bring the concert to them. Well, we finally got a chance to, after the Veterans Home, and had an excellent meal at Spicer, American Legion. After a good night's rest, it was on to the Barn Theater in Wilmer, a beautiful restored theater. Now, that is a description of our trip in October. But my goodness, we've got another trip coming up in 2 weeks. So for that, I'd like to switch it over to my director, Keith.
Hello, my name is Keith Liuzzi, and as Craig said, I am the conductor of the Minnesota State Band, an honor and a privilege that I've had since 2016. As Craig mentioned, we're going to take another trip in a couple weeks. We're going to Moose Lake and Grand Rapids to the Reef Center, which is supposed to be a nice auditorium, which I've yet to see, so I'm looking forward to that. And our final concert will be a joint concert with the Cloquet High School. As Craig sort of intimated, these tours are not just about going and giving a performance. It is, for me, live music is very important, and I want to share that with all Minnesotans. And these tours are very helpful, I think, just there. But when we get to the point where we touch kids' lives, when we go into schools and work with students, it ranks up ratchets up the effect of what we're doing as a state band, bringing live music and helping kids make their music in a better way. So we're looking forward to that joint concert. We're also going to play at the Fond du Lac Ojibwe School in Cloquet. And I did talk to the director recently, and he told me he's really excited about us coming because these kids may never have heard a semi-professional group like the Minnesota State Band in person. And I remember the first tour I took this band on back in 2016, we went to the Cherry School on the Iron Range. And that was the situation. The whole school was there, and these kids, especially the band kids, they'd really never heard a group in person to the caliber of the Minnesota State Band. Just an exciting experience. So I'm hoping that we can continue doing our tours with the help of the legacy funds.
Thank you. Thank you for your story. Very compelling, too, and keep up the good work. And, I don't know how many members here play bands. I don't myself, other than back in high school, play a little guitar. But I know that Senator Hoffman is a avid drum player, percussion. So perhaps some future, he's not here today, but one of our members. Perhaps in the future, maybe you can recruit Senator Hoffman to be one of your band members.
Always looking for percussionists.
Yep.
Any Any question from members? Senator Eichorn.
I don't have a question, Mr. Chair, but just wanted to say thanks for including the Reif Center in Grand Rapids. I had the privilege to help Senator Lang with this bill. Was it either last year or the year before, because you were pre-obligated in another committee. So just wanted to say thanks for putting Grand Rapids on the list and coming there. I'm sure our folks are looking forward to seeing you guys, and if I'm around, hopefully I'll try to swing by as well.
Great.
Senator Lane, any last comment?
Nope, Mr. Chair, I was just going to say thanks for the opportunity to present the bill, and hopefully it goes to a good cause and we can get these band guys out playing in all of Minnesota. So thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you very much. We'll lay over Senate File 822 for possible inclusion. Okay, next is Senator Eichorn's bill, Senate File 575, Grand Rapids Old Central School renovation. And may the two testifiers also come to the front as well. Oh, they're on remote. So do stand by.
We had a little bit of snow today, Mr. Chair, so they were planning to come down, but because of that, we're unable to make it in person today. But otherwise, they would have been here. Normally, they're pretty good about coming in person.
Yep. So go ahead with your bill, Senator Eichorn, anytime.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the opportunity to hear Senate File 575, which goes above and beyond Senator Lang's 7 lines. Mine is 8 lines, so in an effort to do a little more than Senator Lang, we added an extra line. What it would do is appropriate $3.8 million from the Arts and Culture Heritage Fund to the Historical Society for a grant to the City of Grand Rapids to preserve and renovate the old Central School building, which is located very centrally in Grand Rapids. The property was built in 1895, and it's been a hub for the Grand Rapids and Itasca County communities for school events and other community events in and outside on the grounds. It's actually been, it's one of the 2 identified school buildings remaining with the Richardsonian Romanesque architecture type design, so nothing really like it left anymore. It's provided also many opportunities for artists in the Grand Rapids area. They work with the McCrosty Art Center, the city does, to have opportunities for artist residency there. It's been open to more than 40 artists to date that have operated in the 3rd floor of the building. It's also provided pop-up galleries, student art displays, summer concert series, and people from all over recognize the old Central School when they come to the community. One of the things we hear from people that come through Grand Rapids, what do they remember about Grand Rapids? It's the old Central School building, just because it's such a beautiful and unique and historic building. And that's why we need to save the building. And it checks a few of the boxes in our legacy fund. It checks the arts, culture, heritage, and it's something we'd like to see preserved for all Minnesotans. So that's why we're here today with this proposal, and I'm going to hand it over to my folks from the City of Grand Rapids to tell you a little bit more about the project, and if there's questions, I'm sure they'll be able to stick around for that as well.
Okay, we have 2 members. One is City Council, and the other is City Administrator. You can go any order that you like, but introduce your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Senator Hurt. My name is Rick Blake. I'm a city councilor in Grand Rapids. And much of what I'm going to say is in the literature that was provided to the committee beforehand. And some of Senator Eichorn has said some too, but Historic Central School was constructed in the center of Grand Rapids in 1895. It's the iconic symbol of Grand Rapids, much like the lift bridge is a symbol of Duluth, or Paul and Babe, the symbol of Bemidji. It is identified as one of only 2 remaining school buildings using the Richardson Romanesque architectural design. It has been on the National Register of Historic Places since 1977. Old Central School now serves as a center for the arts in our community, providing space for pop-up galleries, student art displays, summer concert series, craft shows, several community celebrations, and as the home to a studio residency program that has supported over 40 artists to date and enriches our local arts community by creating opportunities for our local community and seasonal visitors to engage with the arts in a friendly and welcoming space. As you can see, this facility is a very important part of the arts community in Grand Rapids, not only as a welcoming space, but as a work of art itself. This work of art is in desperate need of repair and restoration. City Administrator Tom Pagel described the repairs that are needed to preserve this treasure.
Chair.
Welcome.
My name is Tom Pagel. I'm the city administrator. Been employed by the city for about 22, 23 years. I thank the committee for allowing us to present in front of you today. Little history, this was a school up until around 1972. I still have members of the community that come to me and they say, hey, I went to kindergarten here just before it closed. So there's a lot of passion, as Senator Eichorn has mentioned and as Councilmember Blake has mentioned, about the school itself. The city took over ownership of the building in the late 70s, early 80s. At that time, there really was a question of whether or not the building should continue to stand, be torn down, redeveloped. And in the end, the community wanted that building to stay. In 1983, the city did a major renovation of this facility and opened it up for rental spaces as it currently has tenants. It's got a mix of nonprofits. It's got the artists who are located in the top floor. It's got photographers. It's got hairstylists, you know, just a mix of different tenants in the building. What it needs, well, it was built in 1895. In the handout that we gave you, it needs a new roof, and it needs more than just shingles. It needs a new structural truss system. The sill plates have rotted away. In one of the pictures, you can see where almost the entire nail is exposed. Thankfully, the pitch of that roof is steep enough that we don't accumulate snow right now. If that roof ever accumulated snow, the likelihood of it structurally failing is very high, very high. So the roof needs to be replaced. The HVAC systems need to be replaced. We actually go out onto social media. We look at Facebook Marketplace. We look at eBay, and we're actually buying parts for the HVAC systems because they're so old and we can't get parts through suppliers. The ADA is terrible in this building. A person in a wheelchair would have a very difficult time managing any of the restrooms in this facility. The elevators are in need of upgrade. And in the basement, the actual foundation is a rock and mortar foundation, and we have leakage in that footing. Those need to be dug back, waterproof, sealed. So just a lot of renovation. I'll give you an example of the passion of the community with this facility. Last fall, we had to take down an elm tree, and the diameter of that stump was about 3 to 4 feet in diameter. We had a backhoe out on the grounds, and our council members and mayor received more calls from the community wondering what we were doing out there on Central School. You know, probably the most calls they've ever received. More calls than even a TNT hearing, you know, Truth and Taxation hearing. They love this grounds, they're passionate about this grounds, and they want it renovated and improved. With that, Councilmember Blake or Senator Eichorn?
Just thank you, Senator Chair and Committee, and Senator Eichorn for allowing us to testify today.
Thank you, Mr. Blake and Mr. Pagel. Any questions from members or comment? Senator Eichorn and the testifiers, I know earlier we're just being frank about the number of line on the bills in comparison to Senator Lane's bill, but the tag price is extremely different from $75,000 to over $1 million here. Is there an interest in requesting from capital investment, or is there reason that prevents you from requesting from a capital investment. And I know the importance of this building and also the merit of it too, and being an art space and heritage restoration. But just want to ask have you look into bonding requests as well?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we did kind of go back and forth on what is maybe going to be the best path. There were some challenges involved with trying to go the bonding route. And the reason we went this route, we kind of talked with some nonpartisan staff, with the city, with our lobbyists, with myself, having been through this before. We have seen larger appropriations out of the Arts and Culture Heritage Fund before, so it's not completely unprecedented. Well, it doesn't happen a lot. We thought this did fit just because it did check the arts, culture, heritage. As we can never put ourselves in the place of every voter who voted for the legacy amendment. But if you try to do so, you kind of think this is the kind of thing maybe Minnesotans were thinking about when they voted for that amendment when it was on the ballot. Again, it does check a lot of boxes, and it's not just a piece for the Grand Rapids community, it's a piece of history for all of Minnesota. And this is one of only 2 types of this type of structure left in existence. So I think we do have a real obligation to try to save it, and this seemed like the best, easiest, most practical way to try to do it using these funds. Certainly we could try to go the bonding route as well, but there were so many challenges there, we didn't think that would be the best route, and aren't certain we can actually get bonding funds for that, just because of how some of the tenants are structured in the building, where this funds would allow that to be able to continue to rent spaces to artists and things like that, where if we went the bonding route, that might have to end. So that's my general understanding, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Eichorn, and the typical question in bonding committee, as I have served in the past, always what the least amount you can do, so you don't have to answer me right now, but it's something we can talk about along the line.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I know the city's certainly probably willing to work with us on that as well. They were kind enough to give us a tour of the property, and I will say the roof is an extremely urgent need if we are going to save that building. I mean, you can go in there on the 3rd floor and you see artists with water buckets all around them, and you can look up, and if it's a bright enough day, see through some spots. I mean, it is in dire need, and that's part of the reason we're here in front of you today with this proposal as well for legacy money, because we know we can get to that and save that building. So
thank you.
That's what we're thinking.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Eichorn. Last call see if there are comments from members and any member in the audience. Senator Eichorn, any last comment?
Just again, thank you for the opportunity to hear this bill, Mr. Chair, and for your consideration of it and your willingness to continue to work with us on this. I know it gets laid over, so I know there will probably be some more discussions as session goes on. But yeah, it is a very important building, like I said, to the Grand Rapids and Itasca community. But it is important to the state as well, and that's why we thought it rose to the level of being here before you today. So we really appreciate this opportunity, and for the opportunity for my folks from my community to be able to testify via Zoom because of all the snow. So that's what we've got.
Thank you very much for bringing this bill forward, Senator Eichorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lay Senate file 575 for possible inclusion. Okay, so next is one of our prime time item to hear permitting gas resources under temporary regulatory framework report from the DNR. So if they can come forward. So welcome to the table. Do state your name for the record, even though I know both of you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. Mike Liljegren, Assistant Division Director, DNR Lands and Minerals. Thank you for allowing me to testify today and walk through a quick overview of the recommendations and draft language report that was submitted to the committees in January. So just a quick overview, the Gas Resources Technical Advisory Committee, or as you'll hear me state, GTAC, submitted their recommendations and draft legislative language for a temporary regulatory framework for permitting of gas development projects. Just for some background, that came out of the legislation last year without legislative action on this temporary framework. The prohibition and moratorium that was put in place from last year's legislation would stay in effect until the final rules are adopted. So just to go through a little bit on the helium and hydrogen, because the overall recommendations are gas rules and gas recommendations, so not one specific gas. But to start out on helium, a high-grade source of helium was accidentally discovered in northeast Minnesota in 2011. While an exploration company was doing exploratory drilling for copper and nickel. The company did not pursue that potential helium production. So word of this unexpected discovery didn't spread until 2023 when a company announced plans to drill for a helium appraisal well at that same location. And you can see here on the map on the right, the discovery site just southeast of Babbitt. And when that announcement was made, there was a lot of news about Minnesota's helium potential. As well, the state has potential for geologic hydrogen resources, which could be used for clean fuel or green fertilizer. The Mid-Continent Rift system that runs through Minnesota from Lake Superior down to the Iowa border has been identified by the United States Geological Survey as one of the most prospective regions for geologic hydrogen in the country. There has been geologic hydrogen drilling and drilling targets in Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa, which you can see there on the depiction on the left. The stars follow along the rift and where they're looking to, or where they're currently drilling in Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. The two hydrogen exploration companies, and as they're moving north, two hydrogen exploration companies provided input on GTAC's draft recommendations. And next month, there will actually be a third company sending researchers to the Minnesota Drill Corps Library in Hibbing to look at core from Minnesota's portions of the Mid-Continent Rift. And the diagram, or the depiction on the right here, is a USGS geologic hydrogen perspective map. And you can see there in blue coming up through the southern part of the state, through the Twin Cities, and up towards the northeast part of the state. So the need for regulatory framework. There was no history of gas exploration development in Minnesota, so there hadn't been a need for those regulations until now. And when the helium was ultimately found, and the company had stated that at that point in time that production could start potentially sometime in 2025, the need to act in which the legislature did. So just going back to the enacted legislation from last year, ultimately this put a prohibition moratorium on gas production without a permit. It also put in for the creation of a technical advisory committee, and that technical advisory committee was to produce recommendations on permitting for a temporary framework that would allow for potential permitting prior to rules being adopted. And also gave the regulatory agencies with oversight, expedited rulemaking authority for 24 months, as well as it authorized us to lease. So just a little bit about the Gas Resources Technical Advisory Committee, again directed by the legislature. DNR was the lead, and then there was memberships from the regulatory state agencies with oversight. Those agencies and the GTAC worked on those recommendations and the draft legislative language in their areas of oversight with collaboration from all of the GTAC members. Input on the GTAC recommendations and legislative language was provided from the tribes, stakeholders, and the public. And then ultimately, the report was submitted in February to you folks. So just quickly, the GTAC members, DNR, Environmental Quality Board, Department of Health, Department of Revenue, and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So just quickly on the GTAC timeline. So from the time the legislation was enacted, the end of May, the committee was advisory committee was formed, had our kickoff meeting on the 23rd of July. By the 15th of November, we had our draft recommendations completed. They were sent out to the tribes 2 weeks prior to the public input period, so they received it on November 16th and had through the 23rd. The public input period was from December 2nd through the 23rd. And then once the public input was over, ultimately we considered all of the input that was provided and made revisions, and ultimately the report was submitted on January 15th. Quickly, just on timelines there, you can see I just spoke about the from the time things were enacted last session to where we are today with the recommendations in your hands, and then ultimately potential for permitting under that temporary framework if the legislature were to pass and move those forward. Following that, those agencies would be able to start accepting applications for permitting under that temporary regulatory framework. If that is not passed, then ultimately, as I said in the start, that the moratorium and prohibition would ultimately stay on, and then it wouldn't be till after final rules are adopted that we could move forward with permitting. So some of the GTAC required recommendations. So this is stuff that was right out of the legislation from last year. Required permitting requirements and processes for us to look at: financial assurance, taxation, boring monitoring, inspection, environmental review, and it had the other topics as provided. So ultimately what was in the draft recommendations covered all of those required enabling legislations and a few others, such as here highlighted, gas well construction, some other looks at environmental permits, as well as pooling and spacing. So ultimately, what was in the report that was sent in? Ultimately, it has some amendments or amendment recommendations to the existing statutory language that was passed last year, as well as new statutory language, and also includes permanent statutes and temporary regular framework that expires once rules are promulgated. So input on the draft recommendations. Ultimately, in a few slides previous, I made comment that we had a public input period that was 21 days. We held 2 public meetings, one in Bowabic and one in Egan. And ultimately, out of that comment or input period, we considered all of that input from the tribes and stakeholders and the public in the enabling legislation. So the legislative report, just as a highlight, put together our recommendations, draft legislative language, which was ultimately asked for in the legislation as well. There's a best regulatory practices report that's in there. We had a consultant to the GTAC committee that we worked with as well that put together through us a final best practices report. The compilation of all the input is also provided in that report with the comments and the considerations that the GTAC committee and those agencies reviewed. So just to go through a little bit on the recommendations of each one of the agencies. So what you'll find within the DNR recommendation of the report, and you'll see in the report that it's laid out with each one of the agencies and all of the recommendations. Permitting procedures, we had DNR, we looked at siting and setback for gas production locations, financial assurance, reclamation requirements, pooling and spacing, along with an appropriation request. MDH's Department of Health's recommendations were around exploratory borings that encounter gas, licensing requirements, drill rig registration, new rulemaking authority for construction and sealing of gas wells, and appropriation request as well. Environmental Quality Board's recommendations were for temporary framework, mandatory EAW for gas resource development projects, DNR to serve as the responsible government unit or the RGU, and require all environmental notices to include tribal contacts. PCA's recommendations, their current rules and regulations seem to be sufficient to regulate gas resource development under both the temporary and permanent regulatory framework. So, and commented about timeful and meaningful consultation between state and tribal governments. Department of Revenue's recommendations to incorporate gas and oil into existing tax administration laws for mining, apply same exclusion to gas and oil mining companies as other mining companies, and to create a new structure to allow for different tax rates for each gas, but no specific recommended rate. And then add gas and oil revenue distribution to existing statutes, but no specific recommendations on the distribution model. So through the process, we've had a web page that we will continue to keep up and running that we worked through for the GTAC committee, and that we will ultimately keep up through the process of our rulemaking. So in summary, ultimately the Gas Resources Technical Advisory Committee submitted those recommendations and language to you, and just want to note that if there is action on that, we would be able to move forward with permitting while final rulemaking is going on, and if there is no action, ultimately the moratorium would stay in place until final rules are adopted. So with that, I'll stand for any questions, and I do have my GTAC colleagues here from all of the agencies if there are specific questions outside of the DNR. Thank you.
Mr. Linger, is the other testifier will be speaking as well? I'm Mr. LeBeau and Mr. Any member have questions at the moment? Senator Kunish. Okay, all right. Okay. Senator Green, you want to wait? Okay, all right. So go forward with the testimony. Do state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Reed LeBeau, and I'm counsel for the Bois Forte Band. I just have a brief statement to read from our tribal council. On behalf of the Bois Forte Band, we take no position at the current time concerning the environmental aspects of helium extraction. However, we will remain apprised of the project. The band's primary concern is regarding the revenue that may be generated and ensuring that Bois Forte is included in any revenue formula concerning helium extraction. That's my statement. Thank you very much for the time and the opportunity to testify.
Welcome, and state your name for the record.
Chair Hurd, thank you for the opportunity to testify on the Gas Technical Advisory Commission, or GTAC, report. My name is Aaron Clems, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy, or MCEA, which is a public interest law firm and advocacy organization with a 50-year history of defending Minnesota's environment and the health of its people. MCEA supported the 2024 legislation that kicked off this process because we recognize the importance of state regulation of this industry and the lack of existing authority in statute. While the bill has not been introduced yet, I'm going to be commenting on the draft legislation that was submitted as part of the GTAC report, and my comments today in reference to that legislation. I did submit comments on the draft report. I didn't see the changes made on any of the points that were raised. I expect that's always true whenever you do comments on a project that's this complex. I'm also aware of extensive comments filed by at least 5 tribal governments and several other organizations as well. And I have 3 main points for the committee today. The first is that legislation should clarify that permits issued have a temporal term instead of maximum temporal term for permits. In the final GTAC report, there is no fixed temporal term for a permit issued to a gas resource development proposal. And this presents a legal problem, as the Minnesota Supreme Court noted in rejecting the permit to mine issued to the Polymet proposed copper-nickel sulfide mine. The proposed language should be changed to reflect the Minnesota Supreme Court decision in that case, which called for permits to include, quote, a fixed period of time covering a precise number of years. By requiring a term of, for example, 10 years, there would be regular periods of review for the effectiveness of permit conditions, a chance to make revisions in response to changing circumstances. And comparable environmental permits issued by the MPCA, for example, can have a term of 5 years or less. My second point is that once permanent rules are established, permits issued under the temporary framework that you're contemplating should not be grandfathered in perpetuity. The proposed legislation that's in the draft would result in permits issued under the temporary framework remaining valid forever, while standards developed under the rulemaking would not apply to those permits. In combination with the lack of any fixed or temporal term to the permit and the irrevocable nature of the permits that are issued under the draft legislation, this could incentivize a rush to apply for temporary permits before rules are adopted. It could disincentivize applying for needed permit amendments to preserve the grandfathered temporary permit. It could also lead to slower adoption of permanent rules because there will not be pressure to complete the rulemaking from the regulated parties. None of these are desirable conditions. There's a need for regulatory certainty, and a reasonable case can be made for a period of time after the adoption of permanent rules for a temporary permittee to receive a permit under those rules and bring them up to those standards. MCEA recommends replacing, quote, will not expire once those rules are promulgated with will expire 3 years after those rules are promulgated, or some other reasonable amount of time for permittees. Third, before this legislation moves forward, the state should engage in meaningful government-to-government consultation with the 5 tribal governments that submitted comments on the draft GTAC report. I've reviewed these 5 comments and saw very little change between the draft and final report in response to them, and I strongly encourage the DNR and all those involved to prioritize this consultation to address the comments of tribal governments. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on the recommendations of the GTAC and the proposed legislation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, time for comment and questions. I saw Senator Kunish hand first, and we'll go to Senator Green, and there's also Senator Johnson stored online. So, Senator Kunish.
Sure, thank you. My question is for, I'm sorry, is it Michael Lilgren?
Liljegren, correct.
Liljegren, okay. You used a term, permitting while rulemaking, that it would allow for, or this packet or this framework would allow for permitting while rulemaking. What does that really mean?
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh. Yes, what that is and what was in the legislation was to allow for the GTAC committee to put forth recommendations that would allow for a temporary regulatory framework. So if a company were to come in, why rules are being worked on, permanent rules, that there would be a permitting process in place to allow for permitting for gas production in the state prior to full rules being adopted.
Does that feel kind of like putting the cart before the horse? Don't you think that rulemaking should be very clear and specific before permitting these things to happen? I don't know if we really know what would happen if they had permits and they were allowed to go in and do some of the work that they would do, and I don't even know what that work would be. Would it be drilling? Would it be building buildings? Would it be creating an infrastructure of roads and sewers and all of that sort of thing? It just feels to me like until those rules are and all of those things are sorted out, it wouldn't be wise to allow for those permits to be done, I guess.
Mr. Liljegren.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunesh.
It's okay, I was a representative one at a time.
Sorry. Yes, we were just following what was in the legislation. The legislation had required us to put together the technical advisory committee to allow for the potential permitting prior to rules. But yes, it would be, to your point, to your question, it would be the permitting of full structures. So if they were to put in gas wells and look to produce any structures, that would ultimately be, so the recommendations and stuff that we put forward and, you know, going through environmental review is what would take place prior to rules. So probably a fair amount of the stuff that's in the recommendation could very well end up in the final rules. I mean, there was a lot of work that we did with other oil and gas states to look at and ultimately use and curtail to the state of Minnesota, but a lot of those were rules and stuff from other states that we were able to use.
Sure. I just feel I would be more comfortable having those rules in place before the permitting begins. And may I continue?
Senator Kunesh, go ahead.
So you had a lot of public input as well as for the tribes. When you talk about input and consideration, what does that mean? What does input actually look like? And what is consideration for as a result of that input?
So throughout the process with the public input period, everybody was allowed to provide input. We heard from tribal governments, stakeholders, as well as the public when they turned in those comments or their input. Then the GTAC members and those agencies ultimately reviewed all of that input or those comments and took those into consideration as to whether or not we felt we needed to make changes to our recommendations or not. And those are all in the report that we sent in. You can see in the back of the report how all the input was themed and ultimately bucketed and how we looked at each one of those and considered those specifically.
This is
Senator Kunish.
it's a pretty big packet we have here to go through, but I appreciate the thoroughness of that. And just one more question.
Yes, go ahead, Senator Kunish.
So the lands that this field is located on, and you don't know the exact extent of these lands, is that correct?
Mr. Litchgreen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunish, the well currently, and actually now they have drilled the second one, is on private. We don't know the extent of how far outreaching the gas is from that site. There is a fair amount of tax forfeit land in and around this currently, but until they gather more information, the company gathers more information, which would go into spacing units and pooling, right now we don't know that.
Continue.
Follow up.
Yep. So when there is private land that has these gas underneath it, what is their claim to these lands? Is this something, and you talked about tax forfeiture land around it, is this something that would be, those private lands would be sold to the state government, to the actual company that's going to drill? Senator Green always talks about when you take the land, what is that called? Eminent domain. Like, how is that land going to be compensated for, or the claims to ownership or the rights to those lands, and what's below it?
Mr. Litchgreen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunish, great question, and one we could definitely go into a lot when we get around pooling and spacing and stuff like that. But from the standpoint, most of it's either on the private, the company would have outright title ownership to the surface, and whether or not they have ownership of those minerals or whether or not they lease those minerals. From that standpoint, same thing with tax forfeit or any school trust where the state has minerals. They would have to have leases for those, or you start to get into, once you understand the pool underneath, and then go into knowing what, in essence, that looks like at the surface, and then how it portrays to the minerals or the gas, because the gas is part of the mineral estate. So as to what that may look like, then you get into the spacing, knowing the spacing unit, and ultimately knowing, putting together a pooling order as to who would be in there and how those landowners and mineral owners would be compensated.
Okay. And just one
Follow
more.
up, Senator Kunish.
One more thing. My other question is, has that land and the lands around it been investigated for any kind of assessment for potential American Indian artifacts or anything of historic value that represents the indigenous people of this state? Have the TIPOs from the tribes been invited to come in and do an assessment of those lands to make sure that there aren't any burial places that might be disturbed? Perhaps there are some archaeological sites or artifacts that either are known to be there or are not known, haven't been known to be there. So have they been invited in, or have they been allowed to do a really thorough assessment of the area's topography, the soil condition, the historic records, any archaeological sites?
Mr. Litchgreen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunish, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if the company has reached out to the tribal governments. I do not know.
So I don't know if
Senator Kunish.
that's actually their responsibility or the state's responsibility to do that ahead of all of that. But I would highly, highly suggest that. That would be my input for your report, and maybe we can follow up, and I would like to make sure that that assessment has been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Good recommendation. Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have a few questions as well. And I think I will start with the DNR. And because I don't hear very good, I didn't hear how they pronounce your last name, but we'll get through it anyway. I was going through the report, and it is a big report. And I'll be honest, I didn't get to the back of it yet, get through the whole bill. But the questions that I do have start out with, you talk about your permitting process, and maybe I can hopefully help clarify, and you can clarify for me, the whole idea behind doing the temporary rules is to get to the drilling faster. So it's not like there's not any rules being imposed and the regulations will be there. It's just that you'll do it expedited, and then once you're clear that there's no problems, then you'll adopt the permanent rules. Is that correct?
Mr. Litchgreen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Green, I think that was the intent of the legislative action, was to allow for a process prior to rules being adopted.
Senator Green, follow up.
No, yeah, quite a few follows up. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then to my question, in reading through the report, it looks like you're going to adopt non-ferrous mining regulations and apply them to the gas, the drilling for the gas. And first of all, I need to ask if that's correct. Is that what you're going to be doing? Did I read that right?
Director Litchgreen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Green, in some places we used that as a starting point. There's a lot of places where we don't use and didn't use, and I commented earlier where we have used rules and stuff in working with other states that we've put in place. So some places, like a good example is financial assurance. We've taken a lot from our non-ferrous financial assurance process, but there's other places where there's actually new rules.
Senator Green.
Mr. Chair, thank you for that, because the reason that I bring that up is because when I was reading through it, obviously non-ferrous mining has a huge footprint, whereas drilling a well does not have that kind of a footprint. And maybe to ease Senator Kunesh's concerns, my guess is the tribes are going to be on that because it's important to find those sites. But when these you're talking about very small acreage for drilling these wells, and so the concern was if we have to go through the same process as we do with non-ferrous mining and get the permits that we have to get, how much time are we saving by doing the temporary rules as opposed to doing the whole rules, and what time frame are we looking at? Because, if we're going to wait like we have in the past 6 to 8 years, and I don't know how these gas flow under the ground, but Wisconsin could be sucking that gas out while we're waiting for a permit.
Mr. Litchgreen, you have reply for that.
Mr. Chair and Senator Green, correct. From the standpoint of timing, getting to that question, I think there could be a potential for a year if it was enacted and go through the permitting process prior to, and versus having or waiting until final rules are adopted sometime after May of 2026. So there would be time, there would be potential for a company to come in and get started underneath that. And then I would just want to bring up another one is like siting and setbacks. So there was a number of places where we strayed from non-ferrous and went into things that we heard and found out through the consulting of the other states where we made some changes.
Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll switch a little bit, and also while I've got you there, I would ask that maybe you and the other agencies, because there's a lot of agencies that are involved in this, if you have time to stop in, I'd really like to understand this better. But when we're talking about this now, we also have the EQB involved here. And without even knowing apparently what kind of footprint you're going to have and what it's going to take, apparently the EQB has already stated that in their recommendations that the environmental assessment worksheet should be done on everything. Can you, from past experience, can you tell me how much time that might add?
And welcome to the table for this respond. Do state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Catherine Nuschler. I'm the Executive Director of the Environmental Quality Board, so I would be happy to answer Senator Green's question. You know, because one of the reasons that we recommended an environmental assessment worksheet for all projects under the temporary framework is because this is a new industry. It's not one we've seen in Minnesota. We don't have a lot of information about it. And so it felt like the right choice for the temporary framework. As we move into rulemaking, we would be considering potentially other options and different thresholds. But normally we would say an environmental assessment worksheet would be 4 to 6 to 8 months.
Senator Green.
And Mr. Chair, I am going to wrap this up as long, because I think I got the okay that they will be coming into my office. Is that correct? Okay. The other thing that I just am going to hit on, with all these agencies, and it looks like for sure the Department of Natural Resources is going to be requiring a minimum of 2 either fees or I'm looking for the right word, but for permitting, a minimum of 2. And they've picked for their amount the highest price permit. And that, again, I think goes to the non-ferrous mining. And so I question that. I'd like to get some answers for that later. And then I also saw some language in here from the Minnesota Department of Health that said they were not going to require some studies because they didn't want to overlap the DNR, but they were going to have to do licensing as well. Can you tell me, and don't go away because you might be here too. Can you tell me how many different fees and licenses and hoops are going to have to be jumped through to even get started here from these different agencies?
Mr. Lichtengreen.
Mr. Chair, Senator Green, I can take a try at it. From the DNR, yes, application fee for the development, the gas resource development permit. Health Department was looking at fee for gas well in their notification. There be any ongoing fee, annual fees as well from the DNR. So you're right in that, Senator Green, that we did take some of those, and that is places where we drew from non-ferrous.
Okay. Well, just one more question, and then I will stop. I should have looked it up, but I had it in here, so I'm just going to go from memory. In the language in here, it states that I think it's $50,000 to get started, another $75,000, $125,000 for the just to get the permits rolling. And in the language, it says that if there's more money there than is required to get the permits out, that the DNR has the option to give that money back or keep it just in case there's some unidentifiable expenses that you know you're going to have. So this is just kind of a shot at you because you're going to keep the money. And so you got language in there just to say, well, we know there's costs that we're not going to have, so nobody's getting any money back on these permits. So anyway, Mr. Chair, thank you for the time.
Mr. Littlegreen, you want to respond to that, or is we're good with Senator Green comment? Is there a fact?
Mr. Chair and Senator Green, yes, on the 50,000, the two that you stated, the $50,000 application fee, and then there's an annual permit fee of $75,000. So what that $50,000 does first is works through that permitting process as to, and the majority of the time, that $50,000, now this could be different with gas exploration, as if they are smaller projects compared to any ferrous or non-ferrous permit to mine. But most of the time, that money is working through the permit is usually all used up, and there is supplemental fees that go into that process. But we won't know really until we get started on how long. As everyone knows, this isn't, open pit and stuff. So we'll have to figure out as we go through the permitting process, how much will be needed and the time it will take to permit gas.
Senator Green?
Just one more thing then, as long as you brought that up, because I've had this question before, actually for the MPCA. And so it's not gonna be a question because I don't think we have time for questions, but you charge a lot of money for the applications and the permits. And you have staff that's putting these together. You're paying your staff. You have money on hand for payroll to pay your staff. And yet, even though you're not hiring new staff or you're not firing anybody when these permits are done, you're still collecting the money. And so it's not really, in my opinion, correct to say that you're using up the money, because you're just collecting the money and putting it in either the environmental fund or in some coffer somewhere, because there's no extra work that's required except for your staff that's already on hand. And at that, then when you do come in, maybe you could answer the question for across the board, how many new FTEs that you think this is going to take for the money that you're requiring, because you will be coming back and asking for funding to fund those as well.
Thank you, Senator Green. Next is Senator Johnson-Stewart. She's online right now, so Senator Johnson-Stewart, anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Liljegren, I have a few questions about financial assurance, please. First off, are there really, how many types of financial assurance processes does a DNR have? I've noted that you have ferrous mining, non-ferrous mining. Are there other categories of policies around financial assurance?
Mr. Liljegren?
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson-Stewart, those are the two main ones, and they are slightly different of financial assurance. But we did look at in our recommendation is ultimately towards the non-ferrous, as well as no corporate guarantees as part of that. So it would be some sort, whether or not it's in some sort of a trust, irrevocable letter of credit, or bond.
Mm-hmm. So that was going to be my next question. Who determines what financial assurance process will be used and what amount? Is that the DNR?
Mr. Liljegren?
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson-Stewart, yes. We do, working with the company ultimately has, on an annual basis, has to go through and look at its reclamation obligations, and then those are updated, and we would work with them as to what vehicle to be used in that process.
So what
Senator
is
Johnson-Stewart.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. What do you mean by a reclamation obligation? I thought financial assurance was more like a performance bond. How do you protect the adjacent landowners, the state, from any type of mining incident or mining damage. This is a new area. I'm just curious how the amount is determined and what does the reclamation, what does that mean? Thank you.
Mr. Lynch-Green.
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson Stewart, ultimately, the reclamation, so they put forth whatever has been disturbed as they move forward on an annual basis. You look at what the reclamation obligations are, and they have to have financial assurance for those obligations. So, for example, if they were to go bankrupt or something and leave, the state could call on that financial assurance, and through a third party, we would hire somebody then to come in and reclaim the site. For an example on this one, like if there was a gas well that was left behind, gas wells that were left behind, an enrichment facility on the ground, if they were to ultimately walk away or in bankruptcy, we would have all of those things financially assured in some vehicle that the state taxpayers wouldn't be on the hook for those reclamation and turning the property back to the way it was.
Sorry,
I have one more question, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thank you. So I know what reclamation is. From an engineering perspective, it's reclaiming, restoring, reestablishing vegetation, et cetera. What is the DNR's approach to mining activities, whether ferrous or non-ferrous, if there's any kind of accident, or if there's any catastrophic type of damage, or is that considered part of the calculation for the amount of financial assurance that's required?
Mr. Lynch-Green.
Mr. Chair and Senator Johnson Stewart, as we look at all of those things, and if there are pieces that come, if there is something, ultimately, it's the company's responsibility, if they're still in operation, if they have some sort of failure or something, and to comply, that they have to make sure that they meet. But otherwise, if they went bankrupt and something like that did happen, then that financial assurance would have to make sure that that site is cleaned up and meeting all applicable state laws, standards moving forward.
Senator
One more.
Johnson Stewart, one more.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that, because I do have a bill that I'm preparing that will protect the taxpayers, because if in fact the company does go bankrupt and the financial assurance hasn't really considered the cost of cleanup, that could leave the state with an enormous financial liability. Forward to bringing that bill before the committee. So and I might follow up with your department on that. So thank you so much. I'm done, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah McCune.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question for Mr. Clems. In your presentation, in the sort of second issue that I believe it was was some concerns that you had around incentives having to do with how temporary permits would interact with future rules. And it was a little hard for me to follow. I'm wondering if you can just go through that briefly again so that we're clear on what you're saying there. Thank you.
Mr. LeBeau.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Herr, Senator McEwen, for the chance to clarify that. As currently drafted, the legislation that was in the GTAC report would say that a temporary permit, once issued, is good in perpetuity unless there was an amendment to it or it was forced back for some other reason. And when that happens, let's assume that that the permanent rules are going to have more detail. They're going to have more information about what the setbacks ought to be, what kinds of remediation might be required, what kind of reclamation might be required, and probably would have more detail than the temporary framework will. But under the legislation that's drafted, once you have a temporary permit, you can hold on to it forever and never have to have it renewed. And if you don't come back for an amendment, then you don't have to ever get the permanent under the permanent rules. And that creates a number of incentives, right? Because it means that your incentive is to hold on to that temporary permit, assuming that it's more lax or it has less detail than a permanent permit would. It means that you might not seek a necessary permit amendment because you don't want to go through the process of using the permanent rules. And lastly, there's no real incentive to drive those permanent rules to completion because anybody can get a temporary permit, and in fact, those might be more lax than they would be under the permanent rules. So those are the incentives that I was talking about, and thank you for the opportunity to clarify that.
Sarah McHugh.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and it's, yeah, thank you. And then also, I did have a question for just process, and I apologize if this was gone over in the beginning and I missed it, but I'm wondering if you can just run us through, and this is for the department, DNR, if you can run us through, so we've received now this framework, and is the next, the step is, can you run us through the next steps and any possibilities then for making any changes that have been recommended either from the various stakeholders or legislators who would like to see things maybe amended or changed in some way, just so that we're all clear about what that process might look like and the opportunities for changes might look like. And then I just have one more comment, Mr. Chair, and then I'll be done. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lindgren.
Mr. Chair, Senator McEwen, yes, there is definitely possibility for changes and working with you, the legislature, on any of those. It is now the recommendations are in your hands, and as the bill language is drafted, there's time for questions, comments, back and forth on what that language should look like.
Sarah McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that. I would love to meet with all of you, similar to Senator Green, and to just go over this, and perhaps we could have a group meeting or something to discuss some of our concerns or things that we're thinking about. One thing that does strike me, building off of what Senator Kunish was questioning about, and then also some of the testimony from Mr. Clems, I do have concerns about the nation-to-nation consultation with the tribes. I was just reading through in the report. It does look like if you're looking at public engagement, there's a lot of opportunities for people to actually put in their feedback. But it seems to me that the nation-to-nation consultation that is required, that we require and that we want to see is a step above. It's not just an open comment period and, hey, submit a letter and let us know what you think and we're going to take it or leave it. It actually has to be a meaningful consultation. So that is one of the things I'll want to talk with you about. And then, yeah, I guess that's it for now. I look forward to talking with you more, and thanks for presenting this information today.
Thank you, Sarah McHugh. Any members from the audience that want to speak on this issue? Then those who are testifying, Mr. Lindgren or Mr. Clem and Ms. Neuscher, any last comment? Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just wanted to speak briefly to Senator Kunesh's earlier question, which is that historic and archaeology review is part of the environmental assessment worksheet. So it is a question that is part of that review, just for clarity.
Okay, Sarah Kunesh.
Is that review done by the tribal TIPO officers, or is that done by an outside group that is hired by one of the companies or somebody outside of the state of Minnesota?
Ms. Neuscher.
Yeah, sir. Mr. Chair, Senator, the recommendation was that the DNR serve as the responsible governmental unit, so they would have the responsibility for putting together the environmental review, and it would be up to them to coordinate and to get that information as appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the testimony on the helium, subject of helium. Thank you.
Thank you.
or report, I should say, more so. Next is the last item on our agenda today. Senate File 540, impact of eagles on loom study requirement provision, Senator Wesenberg. And there's a testifier online that will join us as well.
All right, everybody stand up and stretch.
Senator, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So this is a bill I presented last year to study the impacts that eagles have on mortality rate of young loons. And this came about by myself going to lake association meetings, and multiple lake owners had said they had seen eagles eating baby loons. So I know the Audubon Society and the Humane Society sent in information on why they don't agree with this. I'm not exactly sure why they wouldn't like this study, but I'll get into that now, I guess. So if you look at the Audubon's paper, Minnesota's iconic state bird, the common loon, is widely adored. I agree with that. So we should look into, the effects that eagles could be having on them. It says there was a recent study. The recent study was done in 2006, so that's almost 20 years old. And at that time, the eagle population was about 1,800 nesting pairs, and now we have about 10,000 nesting pairs. So that population of eagles has skyrocketed. And I do have both of the papers that they talked about here, the one from Voyageurs National Park and the one from New Hampshire. So they're also talking about lead poisoning, and the study was done in New Hampshire, which isn't Minnesota. New Hampshire has many fewer lakes and the less densely packed lakes. A lot of the people in New Hampshire, after doing the study, or after I did study on where people fish in New Hampshire, there's, they're congregated in more lakes. For Minnesota, we have 12,000 lakes, and it's spread out more. I did also present research that I did last year that, in Minnesota, a snowy owl is it's more likely that a snowy owl gets hit by a train than a loon dies of lead poisoning in Minnesota. That's just a scientific fact. And I presented that last year as well. I didn't go back and redo all that. It hasn't changed. So I guess the point of that is it's a rare occurrence that this would happen. I'm not saying that if a loon has lead in its belly and dies, that happened, but it's not that common. I still care about, these animals, but that's why I think we need to do this study. We're seeing people, people have said they're watching eagles eat baby loons, and we need to figure out if that's happening. And, the study that was done 20 years ago needs to be redone then, because the population of eagles has skyrocketed tremendously since then. So we just need to know that information. What else do I have written down here? I'm just kind of looking at this. Oh, just some other information too, like like the DNR, they don't use information, to do our fish surveys or say how many fish you can catch. They don't look at info from 2006. Same with deer. They don't look at info from 2006 to say how many deer we can shoot next year. We don't look at, we don't do krill surveys in Illinois to decide how many fish we can keep in Minnesota. So the studies that the Audubon Society and the Humane Society referenced are no longer relevant. So we just need a new study. I did talk to Bob Meyer earlier today. Is there anyone from DNR here to talk about this? I'm not sure.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Do you want to? I'm sorry, I didn't have time to talk to you about this beforehand, but I did talk to Bob Meyer earlier, and it sounded like he was going to talk to someone, and hopefully we can talk about a workable solution to this. So. Okay. Did you have that conversation?
Welcome to DNR.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Do state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is John Waters. I'm Government Relations Supervisor with the DNR. Unfortunately, I did not talk to Mr. Meyer today, but our concerns with the bill are, as it was stated last session, just the timing, that it's a one-year study, and to do a full study.
Mr. Water, I think, can you adjust the mic?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chair. Our only concerns with the bill as written right now are the same as last session. Just we would hope that there would be a longer term so we could complete a full study. As the bill is currently written, it would be for 1 year, which would mean we'd probably need to do just a literature review. But again, happy to work with Senator Wesenberg on the bill as it moves forward in committee.
And Mr. Chair, and thank you for that. And I totally agree. It could be bigger so we could get more robust study and just, make sure it's done right. And like I said, I just brought it forward to get it in front of us again so we can talk about this issue. So.
Do you have a testifier online as well, correct?
I don't.
Okay.
I believe it's the Audubon Society
okay, it's
to speak about why they don't like the bill.
Audubon Society, Upper Mississippi River, Dr. Del Gentry. When you're ready, just unmute yourself and speak up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair Herr and members of the committee. My name is Dale Gentry. I'm the Director of Conservation for Audubon Upper Mississippi River. I'm a PhD ornithologist. I'm here to testify against Senate File 0540. Although they're unable to be present today, the National Loon Center in Cross Lake, Minnesota also supports our written and verbal opposition. This bill requires research on bald eagle predation on loon chicks. Candidly, we don't really see the value of this because common loons are widely studied. We already know the primary causes and sources of mortality for both adult and juvenile loons in our region. And I appreciate the comments from Senator, and I'll address his concerns about the timing of the study. What we do know is that loon chicks sometimes die from natural predators. They can be killed by snapping turtles, fish, other loons, other predators, which do include bald eagles. We acknowledge that the bald eagle population has grown in Minnesota since the timing of this study. But what the study found was that, what the researchers stated is that bald eagles eating chicks appears to be opportunistic, and that the loons that hatched in bald eagle territories did not have a lower survival rate than loons that hatched outside of bald eagle territories. So this is a characteristic of bald eagles and their hunting patterns. We know that they eat loons. We know that they do it opportunistically, and they are not targeting loons as a primary food source, and therefore we don't see the value in conducting further study. What we do know from this body of research is that humans are responsible for the majority of documented loon deaths. The study that the senator referenced from Vermont found that of the documented loon deaths, 83% were from human causes. 64% were from lead toxicosis, likely from the consumption of lead fishing tackle, 17% from boat strikes, 14% from entanglement in fishing equipment, and 4% by poaching. These findings help explain why there is evidence that loons can experience population level effects from ingesting lead fishing tackle. And in this study, at least, they estimated that lead tackle mortality reduced the population by 43%. So we clearly are in support of conserving loons, and this pattern suggests that efforts should focus on human causes of mortality, as they are responsible for the largest percentage of deaths and the causes of deaths that we can most directly influence and prevent. We appreciate this opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry, for clarifying. And I see hands from Senator Ann Johnson-Stewart online. Senator Ann Johnson-Stewart, your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is for Senator Wesenberg. What is the you said we need to find a solution, and I'm trying to find the problem. And so if you could maybe just help me understand what the issue is. I did a little research ahead of time too, because I was on our lake and so many loons, but I really don't see them interacting. And my studies found very similar numbers to what Mr. Gentry referred to, that loons are more often killed by fishing tackle, ingestion, and disease and trauma. So I'm just trying to figure out why we need to study this. If you could enlighten me, that would be great. Thank you.
Senator Wesenberg.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator. Yeah, like I stated in my beginning statement, I had gone to lake association meetings, and people living on lakes are watching bald eagles eat baby loons. So I think we should study if there's an effect on that. We don't know, so it's information to look at. And I also stated that the studies that were done, I don't disagree that humans do have an impact on loons, but they're not having population level effects in Minnesota. And I didn't bring all my research again like I did last year, or not all my paperwork. I did like a week's worth of paperwork, and we heard this last year. I know you didn't, but I apologize that I don't have that all again, because I feel like there's pushback and nobody wants to follow the science that I'm trying to provide, which is frustrating. But I also showed that, like I said last year, the population of snowy owls is more likely to go down than the population of loons in Minnesota, because a higher percentage of snowy owls are getting killed by trains in Minnesota than eagles are dying of lead. Or I'm sorry, loons are dying of lead. So yes, there are some loons that are dying of lead poisoning, and there are some getting entangled in lines, but that's not a significant amount to have a population decline in Minnesota. That's even on the DNR's website. So if you look on DNR's website, I believe it shows that the population of loons is slightly increasing in Minnesota right now as well. So these impacts that humans are having on loons are real. It is happening, but they're not significant enough to warrant getting rid of lead and all the things that we're doing. I'm not saying that lead is good, but if you just do the research, it's not showing that, at least in Minnesota, it's affecting the loon population. And that's why I brought up the study done in New Hampshire, and the information that I presented last year's, there's about 800 or 900 lakes in New Hampshire, but there's a small portion of lakes that are used, so there's a higher proportion of people using those lakes, so there's more lead tackle concentrated in those lakes. In Minnesota, the lead, if you're going to look at it that way, is spread out more. So loons are less likely to come in contact with lead in Minnesota than they are, say, New Hampshire. That's why I'm saying we need to do a study in Minnesota, because it's not the same environment as New Hampshire is, right? So they have less lakes and the higher density of fishermen there. Minnesota, we have more lakes, and it's spread out. So the loons are less likely to come into contact with lead in Minnesota lakes than in a lake in New Hampshire. We can't be using data from other states to regulate what we're doing in this state.
So can I have a follow-up, Mr. Chair? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Senator, that's interesting. I don't get the connection. I'm trying to follow down the road of what happens if, in fact, we find out that eagles are killing baby loons. I mean, eagles are protected. I can't even imagine what we would do in response to that. So, so I don't understand the purpose of this study. I do have a bill coming forward that will ban lead fishing tackle, and so at that time we can talk all about the effects of lead fishing tackle on loons, and that's going to be relevant to that bill. But for this one, I just can't understand the outcome unless it does in fact have to do with lead. But I'm having a really hard time making the connection. So even if we find out that eagles are killing loons, I don't see any outcome from that. So I'm not in support of this either. But thank you for your answer.
Senator Wesenberg, or
well, I'd like to comment on that. Thank you,
Senator
Chair.
Wesenberg.
Well, I brought up lead because I feel like that's the reasoning that the Humane Society and Audubon Society don't like this study, because they've discovered that lead isn't impacting the loon population in Minnesota. So as far as population level effects go, the population isn't declining, it's actually increasing, and the amount of loons that are dying isn't a population decline in the state. There's another answer I had for a question you had. I don't remember what it was, but what would we do? What would we do if the eagles? So what would we do? Well, so should we be? I mean, I'm not saying you're ignorant. I'm just saying, should we just close our eyes and our ears and say, well, we don't know. We don't want to know. If the eagles are impacting loons, we just don't want to know about it, and the loons are getting impacted? I don't know. Do we have to oil eggs? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I'm not saying that there is. So we need to do a study to figure out what to do. So if we do find out that eagles are impacting the loon population, maybe we have to start regulating somehow that the eagle population is shrinking. Now, do we oil eggs? I mean, there's no life before an egg is around, so that shouldn't be a problem. It's just the egg. So we could just get rid of eggs then, I guess, and that would impact the population because there wouldn't be as many eagles.
Sarah McHugh, I think you're next.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Wesenberg, for bringing this interesting issue forward. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the whole studies, because the information that I thought that I had read from the Audubon was that the question as to whether or not eagles are targeting loons, baby loons, and that this is what rate of mortality this is causing in loons was just literally studied up at Voyager in 2023. And so is that incorrect? Or are you saying that's not
Incorrect, yes. So
Senator
if I could
Wesenberg.
answer, thank you, Chair, and thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Senator. So the study was finished in 2006. It was published in 2023. So the study was done many years ago. It was done almost 20 years ago, and it didn't get published until 2023. So this research is almost 20 years old. So at that time, that's what they found. It could still be the same, but it could have changed. Are we at a carrying capacity for eagles? Probably not, but you do see eagles more frequently now than we did 20 years ago, right? That's a fact. So, and animals do learn to prey on other animals. I'll just use wolves for example. They learn how to prey on cows, and when they do that, then they start preying on cows rather than deer because it might be easier to catch a cow. Now, have eagles figured out that it's easier to catch baby loons? I don't know, because we're not doing the study. So that's all I'm saying is let's look at it and figure it out. I'm not trying to, it's not brain science, right? Let's just look at this. And if there's a problem, we should know about it. I don't know why there's such pushback from people who care about the environment. I care deeply about the environment, but we're like, no, we can't find out if eagles are impacting loons. Let's just figure it out.
Follow up, Senator McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that, Senator Wesenberg. And generally, I agree with the idea that we should get as much information as we can, and when we have questions and we think that we should use resources to study them in a systematic way, then that is great to have more information. So I'm very sympathetic to that sort of push for, this is a real question that you have and that constituents of yours and people at lake associations have, and you want an answer for it. So I am sympathetic to that. I'm wondering, there's no fiscal note or fiscal appropriation. So I'm wondering if you or DNR have any sense of the study that's contemplated here, even though we are hearing from a lot of the advocates that there's this like abundant research on loons and loon behavior. So when we're weighing whether to conduct a study and have our agencies conduct a study, we always hear we don't have enough people to do the permitting reform issue or permitting. We don't have enough people to do all the things that we're asking them to do. And so, I'm just wondering what's the estimated cost of this? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator. He might have a better answer, but I know, so when we do research studies, like a person getting a master's degree might take this as a study, and it's maybe a 2 or 3 year study, so then they'll ask for $200,000 out of, that's the LCCMR, I don't exactly know, but that's where the money would come from, right? So they'll say, this study's gonna do this, it's gonna be one full-time person, the master's degree student, and they might look for some staff. There'll be volunteers, probably many volunteers that'll do it. I did that myself. There are people there that want to do this, so there'll be volunteers, but we might also get some people from a college that are going to do this, and that'll be part of their credits for college, and then they may or may not get paid. So I just said $100,000 is, I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be $1 billion, and I guess the DNR could maybe answer better than I can, but.
See how I has an answer for this at the moment.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Water.
McEwen. Yes, a fiscal note has been requested. We just haven't completed it yet. Last year, we completed a fiscal note on the same language, different year, but we estimated about $200,000. It'll be roughly $250,000 or so for 1.5 FTE to compile the data, conduct a statistical analysis of existing data trends, and conduct that literature review. Again, as the bill is written, it would be a one-year study, so it would be a literature review, but if we're open to changing that timeline, we can do a more in-the-field kind of study. But right now, we're estimating roughly $250,000 to $300,000.
I'm going to go to Senator Green, but since Mr. Water already give a response, I just thought I answer my questions. And based on Senator Wesenberg mentioned about LCCMR, can the DNR tap into LCCMR as a project, as a request through that route instead of this route in from the legislature?
Mr. Chair, yes, we'd be happy to work with Senator Wesenberg if he's interested in LCCMR project. We can work on that for next cycle.
Okay, there may be a way there then. Senator Green.
Mr. Chair, because we're out of time, I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to make the comment that Mr. Gentry, I believe his name is, from the Audubon Society, never really said why he was against it. And it's not and I agree, we're not going out to, as I understand it, we're not doing a study to see if we should kill bald eagles. We just want to know, and it's perplexing, I guess, why you're against something just because you're against it, because you don't want to know. So I think it's a good bill.
Well, sounds good. Last comment, Senator Wesenberg?
No comments. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Let's go home.
All right, we'll lay over Senate File 540 for possible inclusion in the environment bill. So thank you very much, and the committee is adjourned.
you.